What happens when two of music's most genuine voices collide? On live television in a way nobody saw coming? The Kelly Clarkson Show has always been known for its warm, feel-good atmosphere. But what unfolded between Kelly Clarkson and Teddy Swims shattered that reputation in under 20 minutes. This wasn't a polished celebrity disagreement or a playful debate meant for headlines. This was raw, unfiltered, and completely unrehearsed. Before we dive into exactly what was said that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below telling me whose side you're on after hearing the full story. The lights were bright, the audience was packed, and Kelly Clarkson walked onto the stage wearing her familiar smile, the one viewers had trusted for years. She was welcoming one of the most talked about artists of the year. Teddy Swims had been everywhere lately, his soulful voice echoing across social media, radio, and streaming platforms. This interview was supposed to be a celebration of his meteoric rise. The audience erupted in applause as Teddy stepped out, tattooed arms visible beneath a rolled-up button-down shirt. To most people, he looked calm, confident, grateful. But there was a tension just under the surface that few noticed at first. Kelly leaned forward in her chair, genuine excitement in her voice. She told Teddy she'd been waiting months to have him on the show, praising his voice and admitting she'd played Lose Control dozens of times. She asked if he'd ever imagined this level of success. Back when he was recording covers alone. That's when the mood shifted. Teddy's jaw tightened. A subtle change the cameras caught immediately. He adjusted in his seat, gripping the armrest harder than necessary. He thanked Kelly, but then corrected her. Those weren't just bedroom covers, he said. He talked about years of grinding, dive bars, sleeping in cars, pouring everything into music while others were already living the dream thanks to reality show platforms. The studio went silent. Kelly laughed lightly, trying to steady the moment, reminding him that American Idol was decades ago and that she'd faced struggles too. Teddy leaned forward, eyes locked on hers, and quietly asked if she really had. From that moment on, the interview stopped being promotional and became something else entirely. The air changed. The audience sensed it. What was supposed to be an easy conversation had turned into the beginning of a confrontation neither of them could walk away from. Teddy didn't soften his stance. He spoke about being told for years that he wasn't marketable, that his look didn't fit, that his sound was too niche. Kelly listened, her professionalism holding steady. But the cracks were beginning to show. She acknowledged the industry was brutal and reminded him that he'd made it now. Teddy interrupted, his voice rising just enough to make people shift uncomfortably in their seats. He said he made it because he refused to change who he was. He hadn't auditioned for a show where judges could decide his worth. He built everything from nothing. Kelly sat up straighter, her tone firmer now. She pushed back, saying nobody handed her anything either. Yes, American Idol was an opportunity, but she still had to sing, compete, and fight for creative control afterward. She told him not to act like he was the only one who'd struggled. The tension was thick, almost physical. Teddy shook his head slowly and pointed out the difference between fighting for control with a major label backing you and fighting for it alone in a garage with a laptop. Kelly asked directly if he was saying her success was less valid. Teddy replied that she couldn't compare her struggle to his, because she'd never had to wonder about rent or be rejected for not fitting a stereotype. When he mentioned labels telling him to lose weight and hide his tattoos, Kelly visibly froze. She tried to respond, saying he didn't know what she'd endured either. Teddy acknowledged that, but said he recognized privilege when he saw it. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Kelly's face flushed, her grip tightening on the desk. She challenged the idea that constant scrutiny and restrictive contracts were privilege. Teddy countered calmly, saying that compared to obscurity, a platform like hers absolutely was. The audience gasped when Kelly suddenly stood up, her chair rolling back. This was no longer just uncomfortable. It was unprecedented. Kelly accused Teddy of attacking her on her own show. Teddy insisted he was being honest. He said he was tired of people who came up through manufactured systems pretending they understood what it was like to build something from absolute nothing. Kelly pointed at him, her warmth gone, calling his behavior disrespectful. Teddy stood too, saying pretending everything was fine would be the real disrespect. The studio felt divided, frozen between loyalty to the host and the uncomfortable truth being spoken aloud. Producers could be heard off camera, trying to regain control, but Kelly waved them away. She told Teddy that if he felt this way, maybe he should have declined the invitation instead of using her platform to throw accusations. Teddy laughed without humor and said stay in your lane was exactly what people like him had always been told. He said he didn't stay in his lane, and that's why he was there. Kelly stepped closer, her voice shaking with anger and hurt. She said the same industry he was criticizing had made him famous and warned him about burning bridges. Teddy responded immediately, saying he didn't need bridges built on fake smiles. He said he'd rather lose opportunities than sell out. That word hit Kelly hard. She turned off camera, asking if they were really still live. When it was confirmed, she told Teddy to get off her stage. Teddy didn't move. He asked quietly if he was being asked to leave for telling the truth. Kelly crossed her arms defensively and said he'd come to promote his music but had spent the interview attacking her personally. Teddy pointed out the irony, saying the moment he challenged her, she used her power to silence him. Kelly insisted she wasn't silencing him, reminding him the whole world had heard his message. For a moment, Teddy softened. He admitted he may have come on too strong, that years of frustration had spilled out. But he stood by what he said. Kelly countered by saying she'd interviewed countless struggling artists who never felt the need to tear her down. She suggested this might be about Teddy's ego. He pushed back, revealing he'd applied to shows like American Idol and The Voice repeatedly and been rejected for not being right for TV. Kelly apologized for that, acknowledging those systems weren't perfect. But she said punishing her for something she didn't create wasn't fair either. Teddy replied that he wasn't trying to punish her, only asking her to recognize that not everyone starts with the same access. Kelly sat back, visibly drained, admitting this wasn't how she expected the day to go. Teddy agreed, saying maybe it needed to happen. Kelly asked if he believed she'd been handed a ladder while others had to climb with nothing. Teddy explained that talent opened her doors, but she had doors to knock on. Some people didn't even know where the building was. Kelly asked what he wanted from her. Teddy said he wanted acknowledgement, not apologies. He wanted people with platforms to stop pretending hard work alone guarantees success. Kelly asked where that left them now. Teddy said it left them with an honest conversation instead of a glossy one. He believed audiences were smarter than celebrities gave them credit for. At that moment, an audience member stood up to defend Kelly, saying she'd always lifted people up. Others murmured in agreement. Teddy listened respectfully, but stood firm, saying pointing out disparities wasn't mean, it was necessary. Another audience member accused Teddy of biting the hand that fed him. Teddy addressed the crowd directly, criticizing the idea that artists should be grateful for crumbs. Kelly stood beside him and acknowledged the industry's flaws, but said she took issue with being made the villain. Teddy clarified she wasn't the villain, just part of a system that needed change. Kelly admitted the conversation could have happened without hostility. Teddy showed regret, agreeing but questioning whether honesty would have surfaced otherwise. Kelly smiled tiredly, conceding the point. A producer urged a commercial break, but Teddy insisted on staying live. After a tense pause, Kelly agreed but said they'd do it her way. She asked if he'd planned this. Teddy said no, but he refused to pretend. As both sat back down, the confrontation shifted into something quieter but heavier. Two artists, two truths, and millions of viewers watching. A moment that stripped away the polished image of the music industry. Whatever side people took afterward, one thing was undeniable. This wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a mirror held up to an industry that rarely likes what it sees.